Hey there, good afternoon. It's Miss H here on Art with Mrs. H, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make a 3D line sculpture. So sometimes you want to make art, but you don't want it to be just flat 2D art, and you want it to be 3D, but you may not have supplies like clay to create something 3D. So I have a fun way to make something 3D out of simple scraps of paper. So if you have random pieces of paper lying around your house, this is a really fun project to do. So what I have for the base is just a black sheet of paper. You could use any color, it doesn't have to be black. And then I have lots of random cut up pieces of scrap paper. Okay, so I have some in like rectangles, and then I have a bunch in different strips of colors, okay? And all I did is I took a pair of scissors and I cut them up into strips and into different shapes, okay? Because we're gonna actually do something to these pieces of paper to make them 3D on my paper, okay? I also have a glue stick and a bottle of glue. And then the last thing I have is a pencil. This pencil is not for drawing today. This pencil is going to be for creating some different cool techniques with the paper. So I'm gonna use it as a tool, not to draw with today, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and switch the camera around so you can watch me start creating some 3D line sculptures. Okay guys, we are gonna go ahead and get started. So I have a few different techniques that I'm gonna show you with the paper. Okay? So this very first one I'm gonna show you is a really simple one. I'm gonna take a strip of paper and we're going to make a loop. Okay, so all you do to make a loop is you take your paper and you fold it like this, and you're gonna glue it together so that you've got a creative little loop. Okay, so to glue this one together, I'm just gonna use a glue stick. Okay, so that one is a loop, okay? And another cool thing you can do with this one is make what I call a foot. So you could glue it down like this, or you could fold this bottom part and stick it down so it's sticking straight up in the air like this, okay? So that's a choice that you can make whenever you're deciding where to put this, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and stick it down on my background. And what we're trying to do is create a really cool 3D piece of art where some of our pieces kind of overlap each other and do different fun things with each other. Okay, so this next one is called a curl. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue on one end, and I'm gonna take a strip of paper and I'm going to loop it around and attach those two ends together. Okay, and give it a little hold so that it stays together. And then you can find a space for it to go on your background. And it's really fun to make these try to interact with each other. It's kind of a cool deal. Okay, this next one is one of my most favorite ones. It is called a twist, and we're using a pencil to do this. So what you're gonna do is take your pencil and you're gonna hold one end of the paper, and then all you're gonna do is kind of twirl that pencil while you're holding that paper. Oh, this paper is cool. It's got one color on one side and one on the other. That is gonna make a cool twist. That's a good choice. Okay, so I'm twisting it all the way around and just kind of holding it for a second, and then I'm gonna let go of it. Isn't that so cool? It's like a ribbon on a present. Okay, so if you like it this tight, you can leave it like that, or if you want to, you can run your finger through it a little bit and it loosens up the curl a little bit, or the twist a little bit, so that it makes it more open. So you can choose which way you like the best, okay? So I'm actually gonna glue this guy down, and you can choose to glue it down just on one end and let the other end hang, or you could choose to glue down two ends so that it is more of a piece that's stuck on and it cannot move. Okay, because another fun part of this piece of art is the movement of it. Whenever it's sitting down or hanging up on the wall, whether or not things can dangle or blow in the wind, it's really kind of a fun piece. Okay, so those are my loop, my curl, and my twist, okay? The next kind I'm gonna show you is called a fringe. So for a fringe, it is better to have a piece of paper that's a little bit thicker, okay? So you could use a really thick piece like this if you want to, but I'm gonna go ahead and use one like this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take, let's do this side. I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm going to cut, but not all the way up to the top. This is sort of like if you've ever made grass out of paper. This is sort of the same process. And you'll see what we're gonna do once we're done with this. I'm gonna make it into something to make it look 3D. Because if I were to just lay this down and glue it to the paper like this, it would not be 3D. It would be a 2D piece of art, okay? So we want it to be 3D. So something I like to do is to take my pencil and use it as a tool again, and we're going to curl these pieces up. And they're gonna be sort of like little eyelashes curled up. And then I'll give you some options of how you can glue it down to add to the 3D effect. Okay, so you could glue it down like this if you would like to. You could glue it down up in the air like this, or you could, this is my favorite part, my favorite way to do it. I'm going to glue these two ends together. Oopsie. And I've got a really cool cone, or a really cool piece that I could glue down like this, okay? Now here's the problem. If I glue this down like this, it's gonna be really hard for it to stay just like this, okay? So I'm gonna give you a little pointer. What I like to do is I like to make little tabs, okay? So I'm just gonna make 2 tabs. And what's gonna happen is put a little bit of glue on the end of each one and glue it inside my piece, okay? And then I'm gonna fold the tabs out like this, okay? And you're gonna see what's gonna happen now. Now, whoopsie, I'm going to put glue on the bottom of these tabs, and I'm going to glue those tabs down like that, okay? So that now this piece actually has something to stand on, okay? Do you see how my piece is starting to look 3D? Now things are standing out from the paper. Isn't that cool? Okay, so that was the fringe, okay? That's a fun variation on the fringe, okay? Something else you can do is called a cone, okay? I bet you guys know what a cone is. So I'm gonna take one of these pieces of paper that is a little bit bigger piece, and I am going to cut myself a circle. Now, if you are not very good at cutting circles, that is okay. You could trace something if you want to cut yourself a circle, or you could draw it first if you'd like to, just freehand draw it and then cut it out. But I know that circles are kind of hard, so it's okay if you have to trace something to make one. And then I'm gonna make this little guy turn into Pac-Man, okay? So what I like to do is fold it in half to help me know kind of where the middle is, but I don't wanna crease it too much. You see how I know where the middle is now? So I'm gonna make my Pac-Man mouth go straight into that middle part, okay? So see, looks like Pac-Man now, okay? Pac-Man. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take some glue and just put a little bit on one edge, and I'm going to take my 2 pieces and overlap them, and I have myself a really cool little cone, okay? And you can do anything with this cone, but I think it's kind of fun to glue it where the cone is facing up. It's kind of a unique way to glue it down versus just making it stand up like a normal cone. I think that's kind of fun. Okay, so another cool one that you can do is called a spiral, and a spiral is one of those that is gonna have movement to it, and I think that's what makes it really fun. You can make it circular, you could make it rectangular. I think I'm gonna make mine triangular. So I'm gonna cut out a triangle shape, and then what I'm gonna do is cut along the edge, but not all the way. Cut and stop, cut and stop, cut and stop, until I get out that far. And you see that? Isn't that so fun? Okay, and then when you're gluing it down, you do not want to glue all of it down. So what you're going to do is glue down just a little bit of it, so that the rest of it has the ability to dangle, so that whenever it is hanging, it actually has the ability to come out from your piece and dangle in the wind. Really kind of fun. okay? So let's do a prism, okay? A prism is really fun to do. We're gonna do a rectangular prism, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold your paper 4 times because a rectangle has 4 sides to it, right? So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's okay that that last one is a little bit short, okay? Because what happens now is I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the glue, put it on that little short side, and I'm gonna go and I'm going to glue those 2 sides together. And you see how that side doesn't match up exactly? So that's gonna be my underside so people can't see that. Okay, so you see how it's like a 3D cube sort of? So we're gonna go ahead and glue that little guy down. And I bet you can figure out how I change this up to make a triangular prism, okay? This one's gonna be kind of big because I have a big piece of paper and I kind of like that. So I'm gonna fold this one 3 times because a triangle has how many sides? 3 sides, okay? So that's 1, 2, 3. That was almost exactly the right size. And I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections now, okay? So we're gonna put glue on one end. And then we're gonna overlap that and glue it down to the other side. And again, since that's not even, because I can't cut very straight, we're gonna make that the underside so no one sees that part. Isn't this fun? It's a really cool, very colorful 3D piece of art that you can create. Okay, let's do a zigzag. I need an orange guy. I don't have any orange. Let's do some orange. Okay, so zigzag is really fun. It's sort of like a pleat, if you've ever made a pleat, okay? So you're gonna fold this paper one way, then gonna flip it over and fold it the exact same way, okay? So each time you do not fold a different way, you just continue flipping the paper and folding the same direction and the same amount of paper, okay? So you flip and fold and crease every time. Flip and fold, flip and fold, okay? So now when I undo this, I have a really cool like accordion pleated sort of piece that has a lot of movement, which is really fun. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on that little short end. And I'm gonna glue that little guy down. And I could choose to, you know what, we're gonna do that. We're gonna give it a little bit of play. I don't wanna glue it there. I think I'm gonna glue it in a different spot so that I can glue it to something. Yes, we're gonna glue it here. And I'm also going to add some glue. I'm gonna glue it onto here. So you can actually let the pieces interact with each other sometimes too, which is really fun. Okay, so I have one more kind I'm gonna show you, which is called the cutout, okay? So for the cutout, what you're gonna need is a piece of paper that's a little bit wider so that you can actually cut some pieces and parts out of it. So what I like to do is I fold this paper in half and give it a really good crease, because that crease is what you're gonna actually cut off of. But before I cut, I wanna make myself some feet, okay? We talked about feet a little bit earlier because that's something that your piece needs to be able to stand on. So I'm gonna fold a part out, fold another part out, give them a crease, and so that way when I sit it up, it actually has somewhere to stand, okay? But then on this crease that I made, I'm gonna cut some shapes out of it. And that can be any sort of shape you want. It could be very similar or very different. It is up to you. Okay, so I have myself a pretty cool little cutout piece so that it actually is kind of see-through now, okay? So I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put this little guy. You know what? I'm gonna move this one. What are the corners? That glue sticks really good, doesn't it? Let's move this little guy down here. And then we have room for our cutout right here. Okay, so I'm gonna put glue just on the feet. And when I glue it, I'm gonna make sure that it is open on the top so that you can actually see the little cutouts. Okay. So look at all those different techniques. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different techniques that I taught you today on how to make a 3D piece of art. Pretty cool. Okay, did you so love that? I so love this project. It's so fun and colorful. So look at what I have here. Okay, this is what I created. And I'm gonna turn it to the side a little bit so you guys can see how it's actually a 3D piece of art. It is hanging out or sticking out from my base. So it's actually a 3D, really fun piece that's really cool to look at from lots of different angles. And what's fun is you could make it go any which way and it looks really interesting. And something fun I've seen some of my students do before with this is they've had a humongous imagination and come up with made this into like a playground or some sort of imaginary playscape where they made these little parts have different purposes and functions, or even like a little play area or a living space for some little fairy gnome. So you could use your imagination to do all kinds of fun things with this sculpture, but I made it with simple stuff like pieces of paper and a glue stick and scissors. I mean, really, you don't need hardly anything to make this. So you know what? You could go grab some stuff right now at home and make this in a really, really fun piece of art. It's so fun. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. And you know what? I hope that you actually take some pictures and show me what you've made after you've created this really cool 3D line sculpture.